surprise. Guess I should have known.
I used to love her, but I had to kill her. I used to love her, but I had to kill her. She bitched so much, she drove me nuts, and now I'm happier this way. I had to put her 6 feet under, and I can still hear her complain. Those are lyrics to a song called I Used to Love Her, But I Had to Kill Her by Guns N' Roses, and that song has reportedly been used as an inspiration for 2 different men to kill their wives. When you hear those lyrics, do you feel inspired to kill? Probably not. That's probably because you see the song as an expression of art and not something to be taken literally. That's the problem with mental illness and instability. For the most part, it's totally undetectable until you see a pattern of behavior. So from one person to the next, you don't know how words are going to trigger another person into action, whether it's your fault or not. It's definitely not the writers of these songs' fault that these people chose to take those words literally and go out and murder their wives. In this video, I'm going to talk about some cases where people interpreted songs in different and more sinister and literal ways than you and me. And it wasn't discovered until after people died, unfortunately. Please remember to hit the like button, subscribe, set your notifications, and consider becoming a member to support my work. In the early morning hours of August 13th, 2018, Chris Watts took the lives of his pregnant wife and toddler girls and disposed of all of them at the Anadarko oil refinery in Colorado, where he worked. He buried Shanann and the unborn Nico in a shallow grave nearby 2 oil tanks, which can also be referred to as a battery. At 10 a.m. the same morning, he did a Google search for the lyrics of the song Battery by Metallica. Some of the lyrics go like this: lashing out the action, returning the reaction, weak are ripped and torn away. Hypnotizing power, crushing all that cower, battery is here to stay. Smashing through the boundaries, lunacy has found me, cannot stop the battery. Pounding out aggression, turns into obsession, cannot kill the battery. Pounding out aggression, turns into obsession, cannot kill the battery. Cannot kill the family, battery is found in me, battery, battery. Now, Chris pled guilty to the murders, so there was no trial, but the DA released 1,900 pages of discovery showing Chris's Google search. And after he was convicted and sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms, the investigative team visited him in Wisconsin to interview him and asked him about looking up the lyrics. Chris has never been known to be a truthful or brave warrior, so it's not surprising that he blamed the lookup on his mistress. Chris was known to his friends and family as a major Metallica fan. His entire upper back was covered with a Metallica tattoo. And his wife Shanann knew exactly how to surprise him for his birthday with tickets to a Metallica concert and a Metallica t-shirt. No one, including myself, is accusing Metallica of causing the murder of Shanann Watts. What I'm showing here, along with the other killer songs in this video, is that the mind of a killer will use anything to either fuel the killer instinct that's already inside of them or to justify their decision to kill. In extreme cases, their brains are so afflicted that they will take song lyrics as literal instruction to kill. With no specific evidence telling us what battery meant to Chris Watts, we can take the lyrics and the situation and piece together what may have happened. Chris was already a huge Metallica fan. You can imagine that Metallica and music like Metallica was like a soundtrack to his life, especially when he was in emotional turmoil. For him to decide to kill his wife and children and dispose of them in such a horrible way, he was clearly in some sort of emotional turmoil, which probably included a level of anger and hatred that he felt justified in killing his wife, the same woman who had surprised him with Metallica tickets just before he killed her. Many of us will hear songs from our favorite artists pop up in our heads when we're experiencing important moments in our lives. And sometimes we can hear the song in our head and know some of the words, but not all of the words. So we just hum those words, right? It's not hard to imagine when Chris was in the middle of his killing and disposing spree, and he was all amped up with that battery, battery energy, the song Battery kept running through his head like an earworm, so much so that he felt the need to look up the lyrics so he knew exactly what he was hearing in his head. I find it odd that Chris Watts would sit in front of these detectives and admit to killing his wife and children, then blame the song lyric lookup on his mistress instead of just giving a straightforward explanation. But then again, I think that Chris Watts is so accustomed to making things up and is also so out of tune with his own thoughts and feelings that he had no other explanation than to blame it on the girl. That's what blamers do, right? They blame. Just like he did in his first confession about the murders, he blamed Shanann for killing the girls to justify that he killed her. I can't prove what I'm saying about the role this song played in Chris Watts' head, but I don't think we'll ever really know. In August 2002, Justin Barber drowned his wife, then shot her and dumped her on a remote beach boardwalk before shooting himself 4 times and running for help. And he claimed that he and his wife were mugged by a nondescript man in a hoodie who he said he couldn't see because it was dark. Justin is in prison for life now, but still claims his innocence. Unfortunately, downloading the song Used to Love Her by Guns N' Roses and searching the internet for details on gunshot injuries just an hour before the murder was enough, along with all the other circumstantial evidence for the jury to find him guilty. This shows that when your digital evidence has you downloading killing songs and looking up other facts in the case in close proximity to a murder, you can very well be convicted of murder. If he had just downloaded the song without doing those gunshot wound Google searches at the same time, he may not have been convicted. Who knows? But what if you're actively listening to and singing the song in the middle of committing the crime and it can be proven? That's what happened with the same exact song 10 years later, when Thomas Wilhelm blasted the song and sang along to it while drunk and high on pills before shooting and killing his girlfriend. We know this because 11 minutes before shooting Christine Murray, he texted a friend saying that he was listening to the song. Wilhelm was sentenced to 50 years in prison. In both of these cases, it seems to me that the killers were using the song to help bolster a mood that they already had. In fact, after shooting his girlfriend 6 times, Wilhelm attempted but failed to take his own life. When the police arrived and started to handcuff him, he said, "Please tell me she's dead." In the case of Justin Barber, it was also discovered that he was having an affair, and in his Google searches, it showed that he was plotting and planning to kill his wife. So downloading a somewhat bouncy and cheery song like, "I used to love her, but I had to kill her." I mean, come on. Doing that hours just before actually doing the killing was just the inspiration that sick fuck needed to help carry out the deed. Sometimes people are so sick that they can't differentiate art from reality. They have a hard time telling the difference between jokes and insults. And they may go so far as to hear song lyrics as instructions to carry out the killing fantasy they are developing in their brain. Or they hear lyrics in songs and they start to feel the implication of those lyrics in their real life. That's what happened in 1989 when Robert Bardo drove from Tucson to California while listening to U2's song Exit. He had been stalking the actress Rebecca Schaeffer for 3 years, sending her letters and attempting to access a set where she'd been working. He somehow found her address, and on July 18th, 1989, he showed up at her apartment and shot her in the chest, and she died. His psychologist testified in court that the song lyrics from U2's Exit gave him his idea. In fact, he was so moved by the song that when it was played in court, he could not stop himself from headbanging to it in court. And before this, he had expressed relatively little emotion. He had been still and stoic during all the other rest of the court proceedings. Bardo was sentenced to life in prison, and as a result of this case, U2 refused to play the song live for many, many years. All the cases I just talked about are when murderers seem to have songs in their heads when they're in the mood to kill. But what about when killers kill or criminals commit crimes and then write about it in their songs? Should those lyrics be used as evidence in their trials? There's a very, very lively discussion about this in the insane Young Thug case that's going on right now, which I also plan to cover on this channel because the case itself is insane. It's a massive trial. It's going to be going on for 6 to 9 months. They're still in jury selection after 4 months. And since there are so many relevant First Amendment discussions being had about the intersection of art and crime, I really want to talk about this. So be on the lookout for future videos or live streams about the Young Thug case. And in the meantime, be kind to everyone online because you have no idea, literally no idea, what people are going through in their private lives. Peace out.